let's talk about Donald Trump, because I have always been curious about who is Donald Trump.
It feels kind of dumb to like talk about this stuff in a weird way because it's like there's been 80 billion books, articles, deep dives,
I know.
Breaking news. An entire issue of The Atlantic, devoted to like Donald Trump, and he's in New York Magazine. Oh, he was a mobster. That I think everyone knows this stuff. We're not going to go that deep on it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny. I have read a lot of politicians' books for the show. Not a lot, but I've read much more than I had before we did the show.
Mm-hmm. You mean like Obama?
Yeah, I read, okay. I actually
Dreams of My Mom. What was it? My Mom's Dreams.
I read part of that.
Oh wait, Dreams of My
Father. But
what was the one about his mom?
Actually, in reality, I realized that I just read the book by the guy who says he sucked Obama's dick. I actually didn't read. I read a little bit of Obama's book about the Choom Gang because that's referenced in there.
I've never read Obama's books.
Well,
but I did read the stupid book about the dick sucking.
The dick sucking thing, because in that he mentions you made
us do that.
I did. I'm sorry, and it was a good episode. But I gotta stop doing that.
You do what you want.
I think in that book it talks about where Obama's. No, it was in that book. There was an article.
It's
one of Obama's old like smoking weed friends was murdered for farting on a guy.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show.
Okay, we did. Okay, good.
It's so crazy that Tucker Carlson had that guy on his show.
That was insane. He was like, because Tucker did like the open mouth, like completely wide-eyed thing.
We are garbage people with garbage culture.
Well,
fucking crackhead on Tucker Carlson's TV show talking about he sucked Obama's dick.
I tried to get that guy on TrueAnon. He did not respond to my Facebook messages. So,
oh my god.
Background on Donald J. Trump.
An aristocrat.
Donald Jewish Trump,
son of Fred Trump.
Mm-hmm.
New York real estate guy, Fred Trump. He built his empire. I think people know. Flipping a bunch of foreclosed residential properties in Brooklyn, made a big profit. He also was the stuff that I think is germane is that he was super entwined with the Democratic political machine in New York, especially Abe Beame, who eventually became the New York mayor in the 70s. But back to Donald, within a few years of him graduating UPenn, he's already friends with Roy Cohn. Mm-hmm. We've talked about Roy Cohn on the show before, but we've never done like an episode on him.
Yeah.
But we've talked about him in relation to, I don't know, like fucking, like East Coast mob activity, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe union activity. I'm trying to think of like
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Whitney Webb's done a lot of good stuff on him.
Yeah. I guess there's a new movie that's out about Trump and Cohn, which I have not seen.
Is this a movie or a... because I've only seen clips of it.
No, I think it's a movie.
Okay, I thought it was like a prestige series or something.
It looks like it has like an HBO glow to it.
Yes.
Not just because Jeremy Strong is in it, which is, I think that's unfortunate for him that now he's just like the prestige guy.
Yeah.
But it looks like a movie with a filter.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't enjoy that.
It looks like it has a filter of like those HBO shows that I've never actually watched, like Succession, or like not even like Succession. Like what was the one? What was like about like pornographers in New York or whatever? I don't know. It was like
I have no idea.
It's like shows like that they
I just think like you can make a movie that's set in the 80s and you don't have to put a fucking Instagram filter on the camera. Like I don't know why people do that. It's like becostumed. Everything is becostumes. It's cosplay. Stop making cosplay. Just make a good movie. Anyway. That's a whole nother thing. Roy Cohn was one of the, I would say, most notorious fixers in 20th century America. He came from a New York family enmeshed in local politics, in the local political machine in New York. It's basically like a mob patronage network, getting people like his dad into the state Supreme Court. Like, it's just, there's like a very famous line that is like, oh, by the time he's in high school, he's fixing, parking tickets for his teachers. That's like a famous one line about Cohn. But he graduated law school super early, immediately became a U.S. attorney, no thanks to those connections, and he lands the trial of the century, convicting Julius and Ethel Rosenberg.
Who? I'm just going to say Julius was guilty, but a damn hero, because I think that Julius Rosenberg, obviously that wasn't the only information that the Soviets needed to construct their own nuclear bomb and thus begin what became mutually assured destruction. But I do think that it was a component of that. I mean, Klaus Fuchs, all these other guys, basically spying, and the scientists, of course, that they kidnapped from Nazi Germany, spying did help the Soviets produce a nuclear bomb.
God bless them for it.
God bless them for it. But I think that if the Soviets didn't have the nuclear bomb, the U.S. would have used the nuclear bomb in Korea or Vietnam. You know, like they would have. Well, not in Vietnam, maybe, but they would have used it. I mean, maybe.
You never know.
And Ethel, though, they just killed her because they didn't like her.
Well, Cohn claimed that he's the one who encouraged the judge to execute Ethel, and he's the one who persuaded David Greenglass, Ethel's brother, to change his testimony.
I'm reading this biography of David Greenglass right now.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, that guy's a piece of shit.
Well, so Roy Cohn, his success with that, it gets him a job with Joseph McCarthy, very famous. He gets to hone his skills with McCarthy on things like blackmail, digging into the details of people's personal lives, surveillance. It's around this time that he's rumored to be throwing a ton of sexual blackmail parties with J. Edgar Hoover at the Plaza Hotel in New York City, which in 3 decades will be owned by Donald Trump. Spoiler alert. But despite all of those hearings ultimately killing McCarthy's career, Roy Cohn emerges basically intact as the last standing legit big power broker in New York. So he's the lawyer for Tony Salerno, who's head of the Genovese crime family, Paul Castellano from the Gambinos. He's extremely close with Steinbrenner. I know you're going to put a fucking Seinfeld clip in.
Okay. Hey, look at this. I got a new system of eating these things, George. I used to peel off the chocolate. Now I turn it upside down. I eat the cake first and save the frosting for the end. It's almost a dessert.
Rupert Murdoch is one of his good friends. I mean, all of these people who, of course, also come to dominate Donald Trump's social circle are super tight with Cohn.
Not to mention Roy Cohn's much younger boyfriends.
Yes. So by the time Donald and Roy meet, Roy is known as a premier mob lawyer, and it's really helpful for someone who is interested in making their name in Manhattan real estate to become really good friends with him. Enter Donald Trump. So he is able to kind of get all of his buildings off the ground, literally through Cohn's connections, because the mob in New York controlled not just the concrete business, but also then the unions who poured the concrete. Yes. There's a ton of articles about this that are going into deep dives about all of the, quasi-legal and illegal activities at this time of paying off different people. There were a ton of lawsuits to get some of this stuff literally off the ground. I keep saying that. But it was also really crucial for Trump at this time because he and his dad were also facing very famous DOJ allegations that their buildings, particularly in Brooklyn and Queens, discriminated against Black people. And Cohn represented them. And what he did was he was like, okay, well, we're just going to countersue the feds and throw a huge press conference and change the narrative. And knowing that would fail, and being okay with that, he just then settled the case quietly without ever admitting guilt. Yeah. And that sort of very famously, people, I sound a little hashtag resistancy, but this kind of lays the groundwork for how Trump comes to approach basically every aspect of his business, showbiz, and now political career.